We just start now. Good evening,
It's the
everyone.
business. It's fine.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Business List, your source for stories inside the party, across the country, and around the world. We are LP Alliance, an intercaucus coalition, rebuilding the Libertarian Party and revolutionizing the liberty movement. My name is Amanda Griffiths. I'm joined by Jake Porter. I'm joined by Rose Leatherman. I'm not joined by Kyle Davis because I have been joined by him all day long, and he is still just here.
We've all got Kyle fatigue right now, I think.
We do.
Kyle's got Kyle fatigue right now.
It's a social phenomenon. How is everyone despite your Kyle fatigue?
I think we're
You all right?
that's
We're
the
doing
bare
great.
minimum.
Fantastic. Kyle, how are
I'm
you?
here.
Fatigued?
Yes. And today has been a day full of people yelling at each other.
It's been a lot, yeah. So we're going to get into some of that. But I wanted to begin with Jake, because you've done some research that you were telling us about. And you've been looking into ties between the Libertarian Party, the Kennedy Victory Fund, and various contractors or individuals affiliated with Alligator Alcatraz. Is that correct?
Well, this was actually the mainstream media that found this first. You know, I've looked more into disbursements from the Libertarian Party and from other things and how they might be an internal conflict of interest. Such as payments going to the board members, the former chair. But today we got one. I think this was from MSN.com, bringing that one up right now, and that was. Basically, that one of the contractors that is working on Alligator Alcatraz had donated $148,000 to the joint fundraiser between RFK Jr. and the Libertarian Party. And then after that point, he has now got the contract to do work at the detention center. Now, this person does get a lot of government contracts, but it does kind of beg the question, what it looks like certainly is not good. And we've also got another instance where somebody donated, I think it was $170,000 to the Joint Fundraising Committee, and then 2 weeks later they get on the Kennedy Center. They get on the a board appointment by Donald Trump. Another one where someone donates $56,000 and they get a presidential pardon. Are these things related? I don't know, but it certainly looks bad. And it certainly would be something that would look like perhaps the Libertarian Party is engaged in a potential bribery scheme where bribes are going through the Joint Fundraising Committee, which would be very bad if that were the case. I'm not saying that is the case, but it certainly looks like the potential is there.
So how would that work? You would have someone who donates money essentially through this Kennedy Victory Fund, and then they get some sort of benefit.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta ask the obvious question, right? So why would someone be donating to a joint fundraiser months after the candidates dropped out, months after the election, right before the inauguration? Now, you could say, what's to pay off Kennedy debt, but a lot of these people were Trump supporters that gave a lot of money to Trump PACs and Trump himself and Trump organizations. Why are they donating money through here? Well, obviously they were donating money through here because there were joint fundraising things that were happening where Donald Trump was being promoted. There was a benefit to the Trump campaign, but why are they donating money to help Kennedy pay off his debt long after the election? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I think it's a good question that people should be asking.
That surprised all of us who were in the party. Like when Kennedy announced he was dropping out of the presidential race, we all thought, okay, that's the end of the Kennedy Victory Fund. We all figured that money was going to have to be refunded, and we're like, hopefully some lessons can be learned from this, and the Libertarian Party is not going to try something like this again. Like, we were all surprised when it kept going, because that money was obviously like being laundered to Trump at this point. And then it kept going even after the inauguration. It's like this was to help a presidential candidate. It was supposed to be an agreement between the Libertarian Party and an independent candidate that was supposed to be, well, supposedly mutually beneficial, but it was obviously only benefiting Kennedy and by extension Trump. But why did it keep going until fairly recently? That surprised most people.
And yeah, that's the critical piece of information. I think this was not during the campaign. This was after both candidates have dropped out. This was after, Rose, you point out the inauguration. Kyle, you know things. Why did this happen?
Things. I don't know things.
Kyle, you pretend to know things. Why did this happen?
Make something up. Make up something good.
Oh, right now it's not happening.
Kyle's had a day.
Kyle's had a day.
This time, I was not the one yelling at him.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. Anyway. And now Kyle just stares into the void. Everyone, the void has taken Kyle. It has consumed his soul. And it has eaten most of his hair. I don't know if you guys have realized Kyle's gotten a haircut from the void.
It's true.
And the void is now satiated. So what the joint fundraising committee and the Kennedy Victory Fund was always seen, eyed with some suspicion, I think, within the party. And I suppose this opens up the question as to whether this is the type of thing into which we want to continue to involve ourselves, based on the fact that that you can routinely get various unsavory figures treating this type of thing like a bribe. I guess, what are people's thoughts on the idea of the KVF or any type of joint victory fund, right? I mean, arguably this was necessary. It's been argued that this was necessary to help the party remain solvent, at least in some capacity. Is there any time when this type of thing is warranted?
Well, why was the party risking insolvency in the first place? Is the question. We were initially told that having Trump come to the convention was going to bring in all this money, and that it would be.
As we heard from Hector Ruse, it did bring in all this money. Negative 500,000 is the same as positive 500,000.
Brought Angela McArdle a lot of money. Everyone, just
anything is possible when you lie.
This is very true.
Look, okay, like for example, the LPNY has entered into like agreements with other third-party candidates where like we'll agree to collect signatures for each other. Like, okay, for example, like with the Green Party or the those weird LaRouche people, like, okay, we'll agree not to run a Senate candidate because we weren't going to do that anyway. If while you're out petitioning for your candidate, you also collect signatures for ours. Like, so I'm not opposed to the idea of working with another third party or independent candidate in general. However, this was something very different. This was us fundraising for another candidate, but like it might have, okay, if the proceeds were being split 50-50 or something, you could make the argument that, yeah, both are benefiting, but this was 90-10. Like, so.
And it was taking it from our own candidate to give to another candidate 90-10.
That's another thing, yeah. And then there's also just the optics of like, you can donate to RFK through the Libertarian Party, and then they'd say, oh no, this isn't an endorsement. I'm sorry, but to your average layperson, that's an endorsement. Just like having Trump speak at your convention is an endorsement as far as regular people are going to be concerned.
Well, and they had Facebook ads that had Don Jr. with RFK Jr. paid for by the, the Kennedy Victory Fund's got the Libertarian National Committee's name right underneath it. That looks bad.
Yeah.
That tells people that that's an endorsement.
As far
from
as
us.
people are concerned, he was our guy. Because so many people never even heard of Chase Oliver because of how little publicity he got, because of the fact that how many state parties actually went out of their way to promote him. The National Party didn't do much in the way of promotion. Like, there have been candidates that, okay, not everyone was happy with in the past. A lot of people weren't super thrilled with Joe Jorgensen, but I remember at the time, like, every affiliate party and every libertarian or LP related Facebook and Twitter page was going out of their way to constantly promote her and post memes of her. Like, people were all in on promoting the candidate, even if it wasn't their first choice. So this is the first time I've seen people just refuse to support the libertarian candidate.
Yeah.
As someone who was mentioned on the Steven After Dark stream last night, good job, Joe. No fuck you this week.
At any rate, then this is something that we discussed briefly on our After Dark stream with Stephen Nikela last night. We recently learned, the Torch recently reported
Rest in peace, Amanda.
Bill Redpath filed.
You're
What?
lagging really badly.
What? How am I lying?
You're lagging.
Lagging.
I
Okay.
thought he said lying.
I heard lying too.
Look, I'm from
Um,
Georgia.
Jake was lagging earlier. But
Jake was lagging earlier.
Yes.
And Rose
I
went
was-
off camera.
I was once on a podcast where we all got stuck on the same frozen image for like
Oh,
20 minutes, and it
no.
was like
Oh,
me with this
no.
idiotic grin on my face.
It's
so-
always making the worst face. Kyle, it happened to Kyle one time. It's great. It just looked like
I just
yeah.
look like this
So
though,
it's like,
so it's kind of already too late.
we learned Bill Redpath Bill Redpath had filed his report for the month of May. Kyle will
I hope that's how he signs his name. Bill Redpath, treasurer.
Oh, it should be Bill Redpath, treasurer Bill Redpath. Just double. For the month of May. And in May, this was the first month that we stopped receiving payouts from the Kennedy Victory Fund. We were about $16,000 in the hole. Redpath also noted that we could expect to be running approximately $15,000 in the hole every month for the foreseeable future. So that's not great. I suppose we dealt a little bit with how we got here. A couple of questions. How do we get out? And number two, how do we remain afloat while we're getting out? Number three, how do we prevent this from happening again?
As someone who's owned a business, the way out of this is to either spend less or make more money. And since we've already stripped almost everything we can spend less with, we need to make more money.
What about recouping that money that disappeared during the previous chair's reign?
Look, 2/3 of the donations are gone. So Nathan does have a point here. Zoho is expensive. If you look up the money we've spent on Zoho, we're at $80,000 so far, and it's not out yet. It's not good. But even then, that's only 5 months, right? We're talking about all the money spent on Zoho is 5 months. If you're thinking about like all the money we spend for pretty much anything, if you think about ballot access, people complain about $100,000 for ballot access. That's only less than 7 months worth of ballot access. We are losing an inordinate amount of money, and I mean the reasoning's pretty easy, right? When JBH took over, there were things he did that increased costs that we can't get rid of now. We're stuck with things like Gmail and Microsoft. Those are month-over-month costs. There are things that Angela did, like run off 2/3 of our membership, that have been gigantic problems. Like we had, when the Arena race had happened, we were looking at 20,000 donating members, and we were down to 7. Like that's fucking brutal. So, if you think that every one of those people, 14,000-ish people, are donating $25 a month, that's a lot of money. Suddenly we're back in the green by a lot. The fact of the matter is the party needs people, and the party needs people who donate. We can't do this by getting whales. It's not going to work.
We need crypto
If you-
whales.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
I thought we were supposed to have replaced all those donors with crypto whales. So what happened? Where are they?
Yeah, Rose, what the fuck?
They did donate
on
some
it.
money to the Kennedy Victory Fund, but not to the party. So,
Yeah.
There we
unfortunately.
go. Now
So
they all work at the
Kennedy,
Kennedy Center.
Kennedy attracted the crypto whales, and the Libertarian Party doesn't. That's actually
Kennedy-
that's a
Kennedy-
really depressing thought.
Kennedy unvaccinated the crypto whales, and they all died.
Then he sawed off their heads, right? Because that's what he likes to do, and hate them.
It's true.
It is. I mean,
I thought that was a bear. I thought
no,
you saw
there's
that.
No.
another. No, there's
The
two
baby
stories.
bear was dropped in a park. He sawed a fucking whale's head off, mounted it
Oh.
on top of his car, and
He
drove
found
around with it.
Dead, apparently.
Yeah, but don't you just?
I've never seen a dead animal be like, I'm sawing that thing's head off.
And the fact that he had a saw there in his car, just waiting for this to happen. He's like, "Oh,
It was a
we've been waiting.
chainsaw!
We've been waiting for this for years. Let's go down there and yeah."
Can you imagine, like, whales are big. Chainsaws, like a big bladed chainsaw is like a 48-inch blade, maybe. If you're talking about one of the like big logging chainsaws. Usually you're talking 38 at most. So if you have a 4-foot chainsaw, you can only get through 8 feet of whale neck. That's a small whale. So
It
what
was a
this
baby, I
motherfucker
think.
had
Yeah.
to do was saw into a whale push things apart, and continue sawing into a whale.
Do you know how gross a dead whale is if it's been on the beach for any length of time?
Yeah, they smell like
it'd be
fish.
Yeah, it'd be like
Like rotting fish.
Ugh. Like, why would you want that?
I got to agree with Madden over here. Nathan's got this right. We got to trust the plan.
Oh,
The plan is to saw off whale heads.
3060 chess and the whale head is like it symbolizes something, and it's
The Bitcoin is in the whale head.
I thought they were going to like sell the blubber or
coming.
something.
Okay, arrests are coming soon. 2 more weeks. All these criminals will be in prison soon.
Yep. Epstein files are on Pam Bondi's desk.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even put Epstein files in the chat. This is another thing the libertarians are upset about. Do we want to stick with? They are a fish.
No, they are not
a fish.
They are mammals.
They live among
They have
fish.
eyebrows. It's very important for mammals to have hair. Whales have eyebrows.
They have leg bones and they produce milk.
It's true.
I've never seen eyebrows as a defining characteristic, but
My eyebrows.
Body hair
define-
is a defining characteristic of mammals.
okay.
Getting back somewhat to the subject, $15,000 in debt every month, compounding. Well, what do we do to get out of it? What do we do to prevent it from happening again? Kyle, you already talked. Rose and Jake.
You sure you don't want me to keep talking here?
But you got to admit that there's a problem. You got to admit there's a problem.
First
and
step.
Yeah,
go
there's a
ahead
reason
and
why
try to,
libertarians are not donating.
You make a list of all the donors you've harmed, and when it would not harm them more, ask for amends.
So this is something we should have followed up on with Steven last night. The first time around, he offered to do apology videos to make silly apology, like not silly, but apology videos to be like, we know we did not effectively use your money for the last year and a half or 2.5 years. We're gonna get better at that. We
This is
sucked.
actually-
We're better now.
This is actually something that Susan Hogarth brought up, and she has a new piece in the Torch today about this, the calculus of donating to the LNC. She has written to members of the LNC requesting that they send, they send to delegates to the 24 convention where McArdle was elected, as well as sustaining lifetime members, a communication detailing what happened, what actions were and are being undertaken by the LNC in response, and what will be done in the next few months to fortify the organization against any such future breaches. This has to do with the board's failure to provide oversight when it came to the alleged financial malfeasance of Angela McArdle. This is something that Susan Hogarth has, again, requested from the LNC officers, the chair, the vice chair, the treasurer. She says, so far I've received no response. They may or may not be planning such a communication. If it's not made by the LNC itself in a reasonable amount of time, I think that volunteer members will have to do so. It would be infinitely better coming from the board, but it's something that has to happen. Right to donors, right to lifetime or sustaining lifelong members, right to prior delegates, kind of a mea culpa, talk about what's being done to remedy what's happened. Is that a good idea? Does that just pour salt in wounds? Does that push away people who might have otherwise not been aware that anything was going on? I mean, we are really in the weeds of this. Like we are not normal even for libertarians. We know so much random crap about the party. This might be informing people of problems that they didn't know existed and pushing them away further.
Well,
Is this a viable solution?
Don't keep track of the drama, and then they see that there's drama and they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. These people are insane.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and that's another thing, like people who don't keep up with the drama, that's why like you have to be careful how you handle the drama, because like I can understand, for example, why there's so much pushback against things like disaffiliating state parties, because people who haven't followed it, it's just going to look like, the National Party are being unreasonable. They're disaffiliating state parties over differences of opinion or something. Like, so yeah, there is a way to attract people back, but yeah, it is tough, like, because you don't want to admit that there is a serious problem and that there's constant infighting. but for the people who left because they didn't like what they were seeing, you also want to be able to assure them that, look, we're working on this and we're on our way to fixing it, and we've already had a bunch of victories. We've already taken back a bunch of states that were lost, and we're working on fixing these problems that you left over.
Jake, how do you feel about Susan's suggestion? Is it does it hit the right notes? Is it unnecessary? Is the audience correct?
No, I think you have to be honest with what happened. You've got to be open about that. I do think we need to get back to having some big goal to all rally behind, though. And without that, it's like, okay, we're going to try to do better, but how are we going to try to do better?
Mhm.
What is the party going to be focused on? I get that we don't have money. Create a big goal to get people to donate to, and it can't be just we're going to keep the lights on. Put the goal beyond that point. You'll raise enough to keep the lights on in the meantime. Another point I want to make, though, is that for a long time, the prior board and this board didn't admit there were fundraising problems. They didn't admit that the problems were happening. They just kept talking about their reserve fund. Remember, they kept going on and on and on about the reserve fund they had in cash. Well, eventually they burned through the reserve fund. They don't even have that to brag about anymore. They should have said that there are problems, and instead they tried to hide it. They went to the Joint Fundraising Committee. Stuff could have been done differently from the get-go that could have solved these issues. And they also quit talking to the people like that could have helped them get out of this mess. They quit talking to them, and they wanted to surround themselves with people that would only agree with what they were doing, even though it wasn't working. It's the dictator's thing, right? Where Saddam Hussein, everybody's afraid to tell him that you're going to lose this war. He doesn't know. He doesn't know because everyone's afraid to until the very end. And when you surround yourself with people that only tell you the news you want to hear, it ultimately leads to your own failure. And that's what happened here.
Right. And some of us, like, who originally were supporters of the Mises takeover because we believed in what they claimed that they represented, like, we were okay with the initial loss of donations because we're like, some of these big donors, like, the Koch connected people, like, they are, they've been pushing a very watered down version of libertarianism, and we're actually okay with them wanting to walk away from the party. And the Mises Caucus said that they had, backup plans, that they were going to find other people to fund them, such as, these crypto whales. So, like, we were okay
Careful.
with that initially.
RFK's coming for their heads.
But we, the ideas that they had to make up for the lost funding didn't really pan out.
Kyle, what do you how, if in any way, should the LNC be addressing these prior delegates and lifelong and sustaining members?
So, I'm a lifetime member.
So they should tell you to go fuck yourself. That's the first thing.
It's true. Someone's got to.
Yeah.
I'm a lifetime member in multiple states, despite only ever having lived in Georgia. My donations to the party dried up because of the previous LNC. I've started donating again. And assuming things continue to go up, I will be donating quite a bit. Like, we will talk about maybe doing a giveaway here of like a lifetime membership a month. But I haven't been reached out to. When I've talked to other lifetime members, they haven't been reached out to. Now, I personally talk to people on the LNC fairly often. I personally am involved with like the party system pretty often. So like I'm aware of the things that are being fixed, but like just an email would go so far to being like, all right, you remember I exist. That's cool. For folks who are like actively donating and everything else, having anyone appreciate you at all matters. Having anything showing where your money's going, like, you know how much I want to hear that my money's gone to continue the LNC email account when we used to have a free email account? None. Don't care at all about it. Not good. You know how much I want to hear about that we're paying for services now where we used to use like LibreOffice and everything? None. Don't care. What are we doing for the libertarian cause? And so, like, people go on about how much money we spend on ballot access, but I'd way rather have my money wasted on attempts at ballot access than I would for Microsoft. If I wanted to spend money on Microsoft for no one to use it, I would buy a license, perpetual 365 license, and lose the password. I don't, because that would be stupid. I want to see something happening from the party. I want to see something happening with membership. I want to hear we're having member drives. I want to hear that the LNC is backing people in states that need ballot access drives. I want to see highlights on libertarians across the country that are doing things for liberty. Like, this is part of why I think that like LP Alliance is so important, right? Like, we've been trying to highlight libertarians with the spotlights on liberty, where we've been talking and we've got people that are controversial on there. But at the end of the day, like, we're supposed to have like Delta Osimo on soon. We've got Joe Jorgensen coming on. We've had Chase. We've had Mike Dermott. We're supposed to have Spike at some point soon. Like, these are big things. These are people that, like, folks in the LP are aware of, and outside the LP aren't. And we get some of those views and things. We need the party to be going out of its way to give press releases and everything else on those sorts of things. That's part of the reason we talked to Stephen last night, like Amanda and I asked about the podcast stuff again. If the LNC doesn't want to host a podcast because of the cost and everything else, we're here. We'll do it. We will do things like, we'll even I'm paying for this restream right now. We will take the LPA branding off of it, and we'll host it as something for the Libertarian Party.
Not as the business list. The business list isn't going anywhere. It would be a different product, just to be clear, everyone.
Yes.
It's not getting replaced.
Right. To do those spotlights for the Libertarian Party. And then they could roll those things out through the Twitter, through the Facebook, through the press releases, everything else. We aren't doing the very basic things. And, like, I've talked to people on the LNC, and they're burned out, and they're saying, like, we don't have time for it. We don't have the volunteers for it. We are sitting here. The 4 people on the screen right now are sitting here telling you, we will do it. We'll do that work. When, we've got someone who's crazy enough that when they were like, there's not really a good libertarian journal out there. There's not a revolutionary journal. She fought for it, made sure that we got together and made it happen. There's people here who, like, the websites weren't there, the groups weren't there, people weren't organizing properly. So we went out and made it happen. We're like, we think Angela's a problem. So Jake went out and found where the problem was. Rose is set, and she's been part of, like, both sides of the aisle. She's organizing states and everything else, trying to make sure that people get to conventions and that the party keeps going forward. Why isn't the LNC working with us? Why aren't the people willing to let, like, the folks out here who are willing to volunteer and do all of this effort do the work for them? We will do it for free. You know how cheap free 99 is? Free!
Because
no, it's free 99.
Because we're dirty leftist infiltrators. We need to be purged.
There is some of that when Rose mentions it. I think about, I've been in the party like 20 years. Bill Redpath, Mark Hinkle. I think just about every single one of the chairs up until Angela McArdle, who also knew me, called me up and asked me for things. They would ask me to donate. They would ask me to help on stuff. They would ask me if we needed things in Iowa whenever I lived there. They would ask questions. They would build that network. And they did so with people all across the country. And until we get comfortable doing that again and asking people for help and accepting their help, we're not going to get their help. And until we start to treat people with respect, we're not going to get their help. I quit helping because I didn't feel like some of the members of the board were very respectful to me and to others, and I wasn't going to put up with that. I don't owe you my time or money. You have to convince me to give that. I can be convinced, and for years I was convinced. I put myself up to run for office several times.
You even got a shirt out of it. Look at that.
Even got a shirt out of it. But I'm not going to if the organization doesn't appreciate it. And I think back to the people over the past several years, the opportunity cost that we have lost, the young members, the new members that we'll never see because we didn't do that work. And now's the time to start correcting it. We can't fix the past, but we can change the direction that we're on. We have changed the direction, but we're not moving far enough. We're not moving fast enough.
So are the three of you saying right now that you would you would write this report to the delegates and to the members?
Yeah, I think you've got to be honest with what's happening. Whenever you try to cover up stuff, that is a sign of a morally bankrupt organization, and we are morally bankrupt. So, okay, let's fix it.
Bankrupt in other ways
I've
too.
been
We're
saying
financially bankrupt, we're morally bankrupt, but let's start to fix it.
Joe's
And we fix it by admitting the problem, and then we change course.
I've been
Jake's
saying for a long
absolutely right.
time,
Joe's absolutely right too.
right. I just want
Like-
a national party that I can safely ignore, that's not going to constantly destroy the image of anyone who calls themselves libertarian. Yeah, it'd be nice if they helped the state parties, but at the very least, don't actively sabotage us by making us look like a bunch of Trump supporters or RFK supporters or a bunch of racists or something. Like, just, yeah, let us let's not destroy the term libertarian so that those of us actual libertarians can do things like recruit at the local level and form networks and carry out activism
I would
and
love
run
an
local
LN
candidates.
I would love an LNC that works again as that
Yeah, I've been
communication.
saying this for a long time. I want one that I can
organization
safely
nexus.
ignore. And
Well, see, I don't want to ignore them. Like, I mean, I want their assistance, right, with organizing
Right.
things and with spearheading initiatives. But what I don't want is I don't want a kind of top-down structure where we all have to do exactly what the LNC says. And I also don't want an LNC that's so hands-off that members who are in a derelict affiliate are screwed. I don't want an LNC that's so hands-off that there is no brand identity or that there is no national messaging. There are no national campaigns. So it's it's just a question of restructuring. We need a churro machine. I don't want a churro machine.
Look, everyone got fed up with running things due to lack of churros. You're not fed up of running things, and it's because you don't want churros.
That's
Now,
fair.
given
Yeah,
Sai
thanks,
does
Joe,
not
'cause,
understand the difference in possessives and
Everyone got
I'm
fed
not-
up with
I'm
running
not-
things.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who got involved with national, because I'm like, this. They need to stop. They need to stop making things actively difficult for us.
I was involved with National at the beginning. I was not involved with National much at all for several years. And then around 2019, I said, I don't like where this is going. I think we're messaging too far left, actually. I don't think we're giving a solid libertarian message anymore. I don't like where the party's going. And I think this is going to lead to a large counter. And it did. And that was my concern. And I think we saw how it played out. And I was too late getting back in. So I think we do need to be involved nationally, but I also don't want to focus all my effort there like I've had to the past few years.
Ken Mollman brings up, if I was one of those libertarians who supported Trump, I would be pretty embarrassed about now. And indeed, there are a lot of libertarians who supported Trump that seem pretty embarrassed, particularly about this latest news with the Epstein files, which is just, every now
what
and
Epstein
then,
files?
the
I'm
government
just gonna
lies.
say, what were you expecting?
I was expecting a better lie. That's what I was expecting. I was
There are no
expecting.
Epstein files.
There are
I
no
was
Epstein files.
I was
we
expecting
lost
something
them.
that, like, it was on my desk and now it's not on my desk because it was never on my desk because it never existed. This is not. Look,
There
the Vanishing Commissar had more believability than this crap.
We lost them in a boating accident.
Joe Biden,
yeah.
actually, he destroyed him. Joe Biden's FBI destroyed him. I've heard
Right?
that one.
But again, they
Yeah,
were. I
just-
thought they were on Pamela Bondi's desk, though. She said they
Well,
were
and
on
it
her
was,
desk.
Trump was
A
also
Chinese
president when
spy
Epstein was
stole
first
them
arrested,
or
too. But
something.
yeah.
I
Why are you
again,
still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Why are you still talking about that creep?
Oh, I love it. I
You've got
love all the
happening here.
bot comments on social media saying, I'm muting Epstein. The word Epstein, I'm sick of hearing about it, and worded in the exact same way.
Now, of
I
course, if you listen to Trump during that thing, he's talking about painting things. He's telling us the meaning of the word skedaddle. It means skedaddle. He said that. He gave talks on windmills killing whales, I think it was, like RFK Jr.
Well,
did. It
yeah,
was just a
that's-
whole variety of stuff, but we didn't have time to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. No time to
It's
talk about
a
that.
monologue of depth and intellectual formidability. But no, I was expecting a better lie. And this is the thing. I had this problem too during the late Trump and then Biden administration with regard to COVID and all of the reversals. I wanted better lies. I expected a government that was going to take me seriously enough to try and cover their crap. The government didn't do that. I'm left to think that the government thinks that I'm stupid, and that's insulting. So when the government works to lie a little bit harder, I appreciate it. And I think that, I mean, that was also a problem with the LP, quite frankly. I just wanted Angela to lie better. Really, genuinely. I wanted her to be able to cover her tracks better. And people and governments are disappointing in this respect. They don't lie well enough anymore these days, these kids. And it's upsetting to me. I stand by that.
I stand by our ticker.
Didn't even realize that. Fantastic, though. So that buys us another week of not getting tapped. But you know who governments are going after? Are libertarians in other countries. So we have this, by the way, from our friends at the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties about the Georgian Libertarian Party. So just so you all know what libertarians are dealing with around the rest of the world. So in Georgia, the situation continues to downgrade politically after the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Georgia was arrested last month. The regime is now descending on other party officials. The party's foreign secretary and comms directors were both targeted in a cannabis operation. Of course they were. They were chased by police in broad daylight and forced to submit to a drug test, which turned out to be negative. They were not arrested only because of the sheer amount of camera crews surrounding them. There are now close to 100 political prisoners in Georgia, many of whom have been sentenced to more than a decade in prison and are being subjugated to inhumane conditions in prison. This includes many libertarian activists. International libertarians are openly being persecuted. So one thing that I thought was interesting about that's just good to keep on our minds, is the power of having the press available, right? So there's that statement that they were not arrested only because of the sheer amount of camera crews surrounding them. Media attention is very powerful. It's very powerful, especially for minor parties and minor party activists. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's the only way that you can build a movement and build movement solidarity is through harnessing the power of media attention and mass media. So this is the state of international libertarians who do have their things together and are being persecuted and arrested. We're just persecuting one another, so we don't have time to be arrested by the actual authorities. We're doing
maybe
better.
We do need to be persecuted a little harder, and then we'll set our petty differences aside and actually work together. Because, like, I feel
yes,
like things are getting okay. Not to undermine what's happening here, because things are getting bad in this country too. But like, we should appreciate what we still, for the time being, have, and that's the fact that we can at least do a stream like this. Like, there are countries where if we just saying what we're saying right here would get people kicking down our door. Okay, we should never assume that can't also happen here. Like this is what we're dealing with. This is what libertarians around the world are dealing with, and this was what we very well could be dealing with here if things keep going in the direction they're going.
The thing is, we need to have that solidarity prior to things getting as bad as they are in other countries.
Stop with the ridiculous infighting.
Kyle, you choose to infight daily. What do you have to say for your poor choices?
I mean, I went on freaking Swampcast this week.
Yeah, like, you chose to infight.
Yeah, that's the level I'm at. It's to get drunk and swing your arms like an octopus. That's the only proper way to do it.
Ideological debates are useful because they help people arrive at the logical conclusions of their beliefs.
Yes.
To a point, though. Like, when you're doing them for fun, okay, that's one thing. They help you make other people into libertarians, or at least reach the end stage of libertarianism, which is anarchism. However, they should not put you actually at odds with other people in your movement to the point that you can't, unite and fight the actual enemy, which is the state. Like,
Mhm.
don't lose sight of who your real enemy is, people.
Yeah. And those debates are important to have, I think, because once again, you are arguing on the merits of an idea, not engaging necessarily in ad hominem, although the occasional catty slight is just fun. Would you? I saw that one. I'm power. So when Kyle calls me a Trotskyist, hopefully he will do so on the merits of my positions over things. These
She dropped into Trotsky voice there. He will call me on the merits of my positions.
It's vaguely racist.
Vaguely.
These debates are important to have because once again, it shows that you have ideological and I can't even talk now. An ideological party that does disagree on policy from a place on principle, and it's important for people to see that. It's important to have an audience for these debates so that people can see what innovation in political ideology and ingenuity is. So this is all very important. Once again, we need a platform for that just as much as we need a platform for libertarian action. You know, these people in the Libertarian Party of Georgia, they at least have solidarity among one another, and they do fight. We know that for a fact. They do argue on various ideas. But when it comes down to it, they're able to stand together against the state and participate in action against the state. And that is incredibly important. Yes, Adam is correct. Don't let end-stage libertarianism metastasize into micro-fascism, neo-fascism, and other neo-reactionary mischief. Thank you, Adam.
I called, that's the end stage of the libertarianism to fascism pipeline. Or this may be a controversial statement, but end stage Hoppianism.
End stage Hoppianism is always already. End stage, you know, Marxism, just the end stage of Marxism is Hoppianism. That's how I feel.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's look, Hoppe had some ideas that were decent, but like, I don't think I've ever seen, pretty much every person I've seen get really, really into Hoppe ended up in an unfortunate place. So, yeah. Read with caution. You can read it academically, but balance it with other anarchist theorists.
Yes.
Read a healthy amount of Bakunin and
no,
Tucker,
no.
Spooner to
Bergman.
balance it out.
Bergman, who's just a darling
yes.
person. Jake, you live in Arkansas, is that correct? Which is basically another country. How do you feel about the state of international libertarians?
Arkansas is just communist Kansas.
Kyle, you're from the bad Georgia. That isn't the Georgia with the effective Libertarian Party. So, hush.
That's why we're against no kings here. Georgia's right there in the name.
You know, when I think about though the international libertarians, this goes back to this. So many libertarians for many years have become this America First thing, which is not libertarianism. We care about the rights of people everywhere. When you start to just put yourself in your own little groups, you get into the things where we start focus on this collectivist BS. You know, people getting into their own racial groups, their own states group, their own gender, or whatever. They start to get into their own groups, and they stop focusing on the rights of all people. And we've got to focus on the rights of all people, libertarians from across the world. And that's sad that we have not been able to do that, and we focus more on this America First BS.
See, I would say right now, Jake, that I agree with you, and liberty is an international movement. But unfortunately, the name tag below me says Trotskyist in the middle, so I can't say anything without incriminating myself further. That said, libertarianism is an international movement and defies state borders. You're absolutely correct that America First is the state first. It's antithetical to what libertarianism is about, which is transcending state borders.
How many libertarians did you hear talk about national
what they
divorce? How many libertarians talked about national divorce 2 years ago? A lot. How many libertarians talk about national divorce today? I don't hear it. I don't hear Tom Woods going on about national divorces. I don't get his constant emails about national divorce. The second,
that's because national divorce grew up.
Yeah.
I think it
The second
depends on
that
what
their
you mean by
favorite,
national divorce.
well, the second that their favorite dictator got into power, they're like, oh, we love the federal government. Let Donald
Mhm.
Trump deport all these people. Let Donald Trump do what he's doing.
Yep.
Let him put the entire effing military at the border, as Dave Smith said. They don't care about these issues only when they're not in power, so they can spout these talking points. I don't think that they really care as long as their favorite dictators in power.
Mhm.
And sadly, a lot of libertarians identify with the right. They identify with the Republicans.
Yeah, and again, it's when the Libertarian Party started in the U.S., it initially tried to appeal to Democrats, anti-war Democrats, and it's gone back and forth ever since. But we are, neither Democrats nor Republicans. It's not as though we have a better job innately of building coalitions with one or the other, because these groups are not ideological; they are policy oriented, and so they vary in their ideology. Hello, Dave. Yes. So the reason, in part, that this show has been a little bit scattered is because, in particular, Kyle and I have been dealing with quite a bit today. As people know, there is a secretary vote, LNC secretary vote, coming up on Sunday. And as people also know, the LNC is pretty much split into 3 blocks. There is the current Mises Caucus block, which is still the plurality. There is also what's called the ex-Mises block. These are people who have either
splinter faction.
Yes, either left the caucus, been excommunicated from the caucus, or do not really affiliate with the caucus much anymore. And then there is solid opposition, which would describe the persuasion of those of us. Well, I guess Rose is both ex-Mises and opposition on this panel.
I am an ex-Mises turned hater.
Yes. So people have put forward various candidates, and Kyle, how far do we want to go with confirmation of this?
Confirmation of what?
Confirmation of the allegations about Adrian.
I mean, like, Adrian reached out to us to say that they are incorrect, but they're up on the torch. We can talk about them, I think.
We have 3 sources on the LNC who have said that Adrian Maligon is trying to strong-arm his way into the secretary position effectively by either saying that he will vote for the Mises Caucus candidate or abstain from the vote, thereby likely allowing the Mises Caucus candidate to prevail. So if this is true, the options for the opposition bloc would be to agree with Maligon, work with him, give him that LNC, or to vote for the Mises Caucus candidate, whom we have learned is Ben Weir. That's at least what's reported. Or abstain and try to keep that seat open. So none of these are very good choices. I will say that Meredith Hayes commented on this, said that none of this was true, and that this sounds like a Karen Ann Harlos conspiracy. She called the allegations laughable. So if this is all true, what's the lesser of all the evils? Do we abstain?
We made it. We've got
now we know that we've hit it big time. Do we abstain? Does the opposition back Maligon? Does the opposition back the Mises Caucus? Does the opposition try to force a vacancy?
Well, what's the best option long
There
term?
are no good options. There are no good
There really
options
aren't.
here.
The best option is for the LNC to burn.
Well, yes.
No, I'm sorry.
Is that going to happen? Well, okay. What's good? Well, would the Maligon secretary make that happen faster? Do you think? Because that might be our best option if you just want to watch it burn.
I personally think that everyone's playing the game to get us to Grand Rapids, and so everyone's got a different calculus for how they want to think about this based on the direction you care about most being at Grand Rapids. I think that from the LNC's perspective, the most important thing is making sure the party doesn't crash before Grand Rapids. And so they're going to do whichever option from their perspective is going to mean that it's not crashed before Grand Rapids. And they're hoping that it's not directly going to crash afterward. That it's at least going to squeak a little bit first. For me personally, I don't think it matters that much as long as we aren't endorsing any of the people that are problematic or anything else. Like, we're here to tell people what to do for the future. We're here to sit here and give you a way forward. We've made the jokes before that, look into my eyes. We are the LNC now. And at the end of the day, the LNC works for the party. The party consists of all the people and the things we're doing and the movement and everything else. The LNC has gone bankrupt before. The LNC has been great before. The thing that is most important is for everybody to remember that no matter what happens, since we don't have any control over the LNC, to continue to stay in the movement, to keep fighting, and know that the movement will continue and the Libertarian Party will continue no matter what the fuck happens with the secretary spot.
We've said this, and I've said this a million times, but this party started out having to have its conventions in people's living rooms. It will survive, okay? Even if this current version of the LP burns to the ground, there will still be a party and we can still rebuild it. And that might not be the worst thing. We can rebuild it in the image we want it, with what we want it to represent.
I do vote that if we have to be in someone's living room, it should be Avins's because her house is cool.
Yeah, not mine. Mine is way too crowded. I've got way too many dogs.
If you're
those are just extra votes.
Deals with
is there an explicit rule saying a dog can't vote? I don't think there is.
No.
My bitch ass plans to vote.
It's the Airbud loophole.
We had this discussion over a there was some animal that they tried to give membership to, wasn't there? Was it a reptile? There was a discussion
porcupine?
like
Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump.
Well,
Donald Trump.
Before that.
If we're making deals with any one person, that basically allows them to own the LNC, knowing that with 1 or 2 votes, they can sway a vote in any direction that they like. And we prove that to them. We allow them to prove that to themselves. We have already lost the LNC. And what's more, we have lost the thing that has maintained people's and restored people's faith in the party and in us as a movement, which is principle. It doesn't matter who we're talking about. We can talk about Malagom, we can talk about anyone. If you are giving that spot, that capacity to direct the LNC, however they like, in exchange for the notion that maybe you can get more passed in the interim, only you can't because you've just given absolute power effectively in terms of voting and in terms of vote manipulability to one person, then the party is lost, the LNC is lost, the principles are lost. Now, we're going to keep on fighting no matter what. But what we need to be sure of is that we do not endorse any abdication of principle in this respect. My position is that you can send a message by abstaining, by forcing a vacancy, and allowing that to prevail for as long as it does. At least then we remain unbowed. Once again, people have come back into this battle because they have believed that we are willing to fight. So if we surrender now to anyone, then we're not very good leaders. We're not very good troop leaders. We need to keep fighting.
I agree. And I think Adam brings a point that is relevant and can take us to another subject at the same time. Adam says, don't sell the LNC to a temperamental South African billionaire either. Although Angela may want to in her run for chair, just saying. We saw Stephen reach out about this this past week. Stephen Nikela tried to, ping out toward Elon Musk.
Yeah. I've had this conversation with people who think it's a great idea because it'll bring in money. Okay, but people who are donating large sums of money are going to be, to some extent, setting the terms of how the party operates and what will and will not cause them to continue donating. Okay, that's how you end up with watered down messaging. I don't think we should be trying to get billionaire donors because of the effect that has on the liberty movement.
I'm fine with Elon Musk donating $1 billion to the LP
Without strings, yes.
without strings.
But is there a such thing as without strings?
I mean, it depends on how good your board is at staying stonewalled about it, right?
Well,
so
Stonewall triggers them apparently, so.
That's true too.
Yeah, they really don't like Stonewall. Yeah. So when you have and Elon Musk is now founding the America Party. I just said America. Okay. Elon Musk is founding the America Party. But when you have a party that's directed by a single person, if it's the founder, if it's the candidate, whatever, then you end up having a party that is one person that exists to serve one person. So what happened, this is how, the GOP, which is actually a fairly weak party, especially for a major party, got Donald Trump. This is how the Progressive Party just lost all of its thunder after the death of La Follette. When a party becomes one person's project, then it's not a party. It's just a plaything. It's just a personal endeavor. And this is one of the issues, I will confess, that I have with people who say that the party should support the candidate. I know what they mean, but what it's really about is the candidate supporting the party through the platform, through its principles, by being a representative of that. The candidate should not be the most powerful person in any political party. That is how Trump happened. That is exactly how Trump happened. You want to see what happens when a party is about the candidate and is just about running the candidate. You can look at Trump. You can look at the GOP. So when it comes to the LNC as well, the LNC, yes, supports the members. The LNC is not the party. The LNC is not the movement. But what it is it helps to cohere and galvanize and organize that movement without directing it from the top down. Same with the candidate. The candidate does not steer the party. If Elon Musk wants to steer the America Party, it will be the Elon Musk Party. It will be just for him. And he will learn just how difficult it is to get ballot access. And he will talk all about it. And eventually he'll just have a PAC. And maybe that will be.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk, if he wants to, he does have enough money. He can buy the ballot access, and he can pay people $10, $20 a signature, and he'll raise our signature costs up to where we don't get on the ballot in 2028 if he wants to do that. He certainly has the money he could, where he could just buy up all the petitioners. When we talk about the party being controlled by one person, that's kind of what we had happen. Michael Heiss and Angela McArdle controlled the party. The board thought we had a candidate ran for vice chair with the idea that she was going to support Angela in that role. That was going to be her job as vice chair, was to support Angela. The hell with every bit of fiduciary duty or, doing the job of a board of directors. It was to support their team. And when we lose sight of that, that's where the party starts to fall, right? Because it stands for doing what the team wants, not what's best for the party. And so you can have radicals will disagree with each other, reformers or pragmatists will disagree with each other on committees, because we all have slightly different ideas of where the party should go. And that's good. That's good to have that level of diversity in thought on boards. When you don't have the diversity of thought on boards, you have a bunch of groupthink and horrible decisions get made and no one stands up to say something isn't right. And you'll definitely have that when you have one person. David Nolan did a great job. He founded the party and he stepped back to a degree and he allowed the party to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely true.
So yeah, this is, again, and this is also the reason that the party is never just about the LNC either, and not about one particular LNC. We talk about fiduciary duty, right? And what is within an officer's fiduciary duty. And a lot of times they're focused on their term, helping the party for their term in the immediate term. But fiduciary duty requires having an eye toward the longer game as well. If you're only focused on doing good for your term, for the LNC on which you serve, there is no continuity with the party. It just keeps on shifting mission, it keeps on shifting function and shifting attitude. There's no continuity, so we don't grow, we don't build upon ourselves. And that's also important when you're thinking about your duty to a board or duty to the LNC, a duty to the party. It has to be much longer sighted than your term on that board. So, Rose, you're very pensive. What are your thoughts about parties and Elon Musk and why we should be courting him definitely?
Well, I think I already made them known. I think it's a very bad idea, but yeah, if he wants to give us money, fine, but we should not be taking orders and modifying our platform and toning down our message just to get continued Elon Musk money. But that's the problem. Once you've gotten money from someone, it's addictive. You want to keep that gravy train there. Okay. You get used to being able to have your conventions at nice hotels with.
That's why you just ask him for a whole billion up front.
Well, I think
that'll fund us for a few years at least.
They're limited though by their $43,000. So speaking of that, or whatever it comes to, Elon's brother and his brother's wife appear to have donated the maximum to the Libertarian Party back in January. Just an interesting thing. They also donated the maximum to the Kennedy Victory Fund, a piece.
There we go.
Yeah, I think it was on January 30th they donated the maximum. So.
This is also the issue with, so it's lately become vogue, and it always has been vogue, to suggest that the Libertarian Party court particular people, usually kind of internet celebrities, in order to bring in some of their fan base, get publicity. And lately, I think one of the most recent suggestions was the Hodge twins, which is really funny to me because the Hodge twins are a conservative pair of twins who, on one social media platform after the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill, derided it. On another, lauded it as being so wonderful. This was the same same account, same night, just two different social media platforms, and it was wonderful. So yes, let's recruit the Hodge twins.
Well, they're easily swayable, apparently.
There we go. It's fantastic. Because this is the problem too, though, with trying to recruit particular people as opposed to groups. Again, we're libertarians, we're individualists, so that can sound a little bit backwards, but the thing is we are individualists for everyone. So when we privilege like courting one individual person above an actual ideological group or interest group that might really be homeless right now and benefit from affiliating with the Libertarian Party and we with them, what happens is we have to convert all of our messaging, right, to appeal to that one particular person. In the Hodge twins case, they're conservative, they're alt-right, and we already have that audience. So the Hodge twins audience is predominantly white male conservative.
We did this with Dave Smith. The party's afraid. Oh, Dave Smith's going to get his little feelings hurt. We can't say anything bad that might offend Dave Smith. And what was it? We had Mises Caucus in control of the party. And what does he do? Goes out and endorses Blake Masters, goes out and endorses Ron DeSantis, says don't run against Kristi Noem in South Dakota, don't run against Greg Abbott in Texas or Tim Reynolds in Iowa, whatever it is. He goes out and just endorses every Republican he can, doesn't do a damn thing to help the Libertarian Party, and they're still to this day afraid of offending Dave Smith over a gay porcupine or whatever.
Yeah,
it might hurt his feelings.
He was a delegate in 2022, I think. He was at the 2024 convention, but not a delegate. Yeah, I mean, we want to, like, 'cause it made sense, like attract some of the big name podcasters, and then they'll help the party. They have a huge audience who will help us. It'll help us get our message out there. But yeah, it becomes a problem when the focus shifts from attracting people who help you spread a particular message to just keeping people on board who may or may not still represent the party. Because in the latter case, you have to modify your messaging, as we saw with the porcupine that apparently offended so many people, just to keep people around.
There's nothing wrong with having a party that contains white men or even majority white men. There's a problem with Kyle. I don't like him, but I mean, like white men in general, that's not the issue. The issue is that we already have that audience. I want to be clear. And therefore, it is redundant to say, let's have this podcaster who appeals to white men bring in more white conservative men. We've already
Right,
done
especially
that.
if he
That's
helps
not
to like
difficult.
plant libertarian ideas and people who might otherwise have gone to the conservative right-wing statist side.
Right.
So yeah, it's not a
Right.
problem in of itself. It's a problem though when you have to modify or water down your messaging to keep certain people on board.
And it's also not as though, I mean, you're banking on the fact that the podcast host or whatever celebrity is going to talk about the Libertarian Party and being a libertarian. And then you're also banking on the fact that their fan base, which is usually ideologically a little bit more diverse, right? That they don't all agree on a particular issue a lot of times, and certainly not all with the libertarian platform in the same ways. So you're gambling on the idea that they're going to all be compatible and all want to come in and then all come in and still find themselves compatible and follow this host. There are a lot of ifs, there are a lot of hypotheticals, and it is much more strategic and expedient to court particular groups as opposed to this celebrity who has all these different kinds of fans, and maybe they'll talk about being a libertarian now, and maybe some of those fans will come over and maybe they'll agree with it. Too many maybes. Stick to actual.
And Amanda, they always
targeting.
do this thing. I'm libertarian on everything, but, and it's always this issue. I remember a story that I heard of Dave Berglund when he was running for president in '84. He was on a radio, and the radio host said, "Well, you know, I'm libertarian at heart, but," and he says, "Well, you know, when it reaches your testicles, why don't you give me a call?" We need bold messaging like that, though, with some of these conservative grifters that come in here. They're always, I'm libertarian on this, and I'm an anarchist, but on the issue of immigration and borders, we need this national police state. Or I'm, you know, it used to be back 20 years ago, I'm libertarian at heart, but the war on drugs, we just can't legalize drugs. Think of the chaos that will cause. And we heard about the war on drugs over and over and over again. And now it's culture war issues. And, you know, someone, you know, might do a surgery that we don't like, or there might be a thing that happens in a public school that shouldn't even exist. And you get all this crazy talk about how they are libertarians, except they're not really libertarians, and they give you all the reasons. And, you know, for someone, you know, like Dave Smith does this whole thing, I'm not going to talk about immigration. That's the only thing that he wants to talk about. It's the one issue where he's definitely not libertarian on. They just keep wanting to bring their little pet issue and want to convince everyone else to join them, and then try to convince everyone else that they're the pure libertarian. And so we have to, and we bring in all these people and they get really confused on what libertarianism is.
Well, and I say this as someone who loves attention. Celebrities love attention. And I think the idea of not being the voice in the room that is directing the other voices is not pleasant to whatever celebrity, maybe libertarian, and so they become very upset when the party doesn't immediately respond to their differences on immigration or on LGBT rights or war or whatever. So again, I don't see it
we
being
saw
a
this too. Like
strategy,
people will get actually angry if you post a platform plank because they joined the party and then they didn't actually read they didn't even read the platform.
I love that much,
that's always
though.
fun.
It makes me so happy when they post the sex work plank and you have like 25 people just in the exodus from the Libertarian Party.
My membership. It's like you joined and yeah, there were people who joined who clearly thought that they had a place here when that they probably weren't actually in line with what we're trying to do.
But I do blame the National Party for this, and the National Party's horrendous messaging for quite a few years. And as you know, as Jacob Hornberger said, we stand for a conservative, reform-oriented conservative mush, and we have this revolving door with the Republicans, where people feel very comfortable leaving and then coming right back in, leaving and then coming right back in, and they bring that conservative baggage with them. And we used to actually educate people on what it meant to be a libertarian, the Nolan chart, where you stood on there. And now we've fallen back right into this false left-right theory that everyone is either on the left or on the right, and they think that libertarianism is on the right. Well, that's not the case. It's a whole separate thing.
Well, to respond to Dave Davis, well, none of you are real libertarians because I'm the patron saint of real libertarians, and only I can decide who's a real libertarian.
Excellent.
And Amanda's a communist.
I appreciate this.
No, Amanda's a real
I'm not a
libertarian. I
communist.
will give her that title.
Oh dear. Now I don't know what to do. This is like weird reverse psychology. I'm not sure what's happening anymore.
I'm sorry, Kyle. You're just
Um,
not a real
Can I commit
libertarian.
Sudoku?
I think
You're
we
a
need an
classic liberal.
Ayatollah
Thank
that tells people what the pure libertarian thought that leads the party that we replace. Yeah,
Can
I
I
mean,
be that?
think about
Oh, that would be
Can I be
ironic.
Amanda Tola?
we
Amanda
we
Tola.
would still have elections. I mean, we would have like 2 chair candidates you could choose from, but the Ayatollah decides the most pure. It's the pure presidential candidates. It's a little bit more democratic than the Mises Caucus, but not much.
Fantastic. I'd like to announce my candidacy for Amanda Tola
Amanda Tola.
of the Libertarian Party. Kyle's having fun. Thank you, all of you non-libertarians, terrible libertarians,
Fake
for joining
libertarians.
us this evening. Thank you all, and especially Rose, the real patron saint of libertarianism. We will be here on Sunday because there is an LNC meeting, and it's going to be so much fun. There is an LNC meeting. We'll be live streaming it with commentary, yours and ours. We will be back next week as well, and on Thursday with the business list. Until next time, we are the business list. We're gonna say anarchy. And we're gonna say anarchy. Full transparency. Now I wanna say anarchists on the business list. Destroy!